Welcome to Centauri Stir Fry. How the heck are you? Hope you guys are being excellent to each other out there. Today we got a slightly older piece, I guess, by today's standards. This is the Batman Premium Format by Sideshow Collectibles. This is the blue version, the fancy pants version. This is the second or variant or repaint of the first Batman PF. It was all blacked out. He was all serious and stuff. Well, this is the fun version. The blues, the yellows, everything really pops. When people come in here, they're like, ooh, ooh. They call this the modern version, which is strange. But this is like, I would just call it a classic version. I believe it's like the third one they came out with, a third Batman PF. I could be wrong. I should have written everything down in my hand. But instead, I just sniff a bunch of markers and then I turn the camera on. Seriously, I'd like to say a big shout out and a big thanks to Batman Sideshow Collector for every once in a while letting me get on there and act like a buffoon, which just comes naturally to me, and he lets me do it. He's a genuine guy. Like there's a lot of big YouTubers out there, but he's genuinely a cool guy. So if you're into Batman statues, or if you're just into Batman at all, maybe you should check his channel. Give him a shot. There's been a lot of passings. Stan Lee, of course, is one of them. But the one that hit me the most in the hearts, in the valves, and the pump, was the death of Norm Brayville. When I was a kid, this is 1989. I got this off a rack in a gas station back when they used to sell comics everywhere. If it wasn't for this book right here, I just wouldn't have found this place to go, or at least I wouldn't have taken it so seriously. And he was a big part of that. His art was awesome. It was just so fast-paced, sketchy, and the action was just like everywhere. Batman was just flipping around. He always had like expressions. Like Batman was expressive for the first time. He had like that I noticed as a kid. He was very expressive, very fast, kinetic, just frantic kind of art style that I really liked it. Almost on the verge of like maybe like a manga style almost, you know. And I just really loved his artwork and it got me into it. I bought 602 and 603 at the time, and they're all mangled. I mean, they smell like you know, like a bookstore, like newsprint. You could almost serve it up on a dish and eat it, and it's just great. And this was, you know, these books came from a time where it was all about escapism and adventures and overcoming adversities and just solving problems and doing it the right way, and they were heroic. So it was just a big shout out and a big love and Godspeed to one of my favorite artists and creators of all time. I had the pleasure of meeting him at a very small con. He was at like a hotel, and he already lost his ability to, he couldn't really draw anymore, but I got a signed print from him, got to speak with him. He was awesome, nice, gentle, cool, kind fella, very accommodating, and it was like one of those rare occurrences where you meet your hero and he's just everything you want him to be, and he takes the time to actually talk with you, and it was awesome. Those little conventions are the best. You find the best comics, sometimes you have the best conversation. Big old shout out to Norm Brayville, my favorite Batman artist of all time. I'm sure he's up there somewhere, drawing really kick-ass versions of Etrigan and Batman. Alright, now let's get to the review. Okay, here's the Batman Premium Format, the modern version. That's, I did quote fingers, next to the Batman Blackest Night Batman Pop. It comes with 2 head sculpts, and it comes with a really awesome Batarang classic, like a Jim O'Pero, Neil Adams type of vibe here. Alright, here's the base. It's a gargoyle base. It's really cool, and it looks essentially the same, like a grayish tone, and you've got like all these little, like very subtle elements of like a rust kind of, you know, aged look about it. You got these little gargoyles down here, and a big one has mouth open. It's really nasty. When I first pulled this out, my wife was just, she loved it because she's a huge gargoyle fan. She's kind of twisted like that. That's why I like her. If you look back here, the back of the gargoyle, something I hardly ever noticed, this gargoyle has like a big old baboon butt. Man, look at that thing. I know it's supposed to be a tail probably, but to me, it looks like a baboon butt. Going right to the cape. This cape is amazing. I love sculpted capes. I believe the new one has a mixed media cape, but I'm just a huge fan of sculpted capes. Ever since I first started collecting statues, the Batman black and white line, and kind of like, I fell in love with sculpted capes. I like the way they feel, I like the way they flow. I mean, Batman's just a dude. He's got a cool cowl, and he's just a dude. The main feature is the cape, so I love when it's sculpted. I love all the paintwork in here. I think it looks awesome. Now, I thought the black one looked good too, but just for me, I think this thing pops. This thing is huge. It's heavy. This thing is no joke. If you have the Bane, it's about the same weight. So you got to be careful with that. He is a giant dude, and you got to be very careful picking him up. But I love the way this cape flows. I think it's awesome. Now we'll talk about some of the subtle differences here. You've got a different Batarang. So this is like your classic, like Jim O'Pero, Neil Adams, kind of like a 70s, 80s, and heck, even 90s version of his Batarang, which looks pretty cool. And that's from a removable hand, and it comes with a clenched fist as well with this version. There was no exclusive. It was just like a solid number. I think it was like maybe 1,500, something like that. I could be totally wrong. Like I said, I'm sniffing markers. And then you've got the new capsule utility belt, which I think is not as good as the original black version that had all the pouches and you can kind of maneuver them. It had like a more tactile experience, and I loved that about the original black. It was so much better than this, in my opinion. This seems to be just like a resin piece that's slid over the lower portion, and then the torso on top, and it was all glued together. It's definitely a resin, but it's it's kind of boring. And then you got the trunks there. And I remember when I first got this and put it up on the D-top there. And yes, I do put this big, overweight sun gun on a D-top, even though I probably shouldn't, but I have for years. When you turn them just ever so slightly, I remember my wife was saying, could you turn them the other way, because I could see his billiards. Okay, so this time around, we have a raised, yellow spotlight bat symbol, which is really cool. You can put your hands on there. It's kind of very similar to the Superman, so if you have a friend, and maybe you went over there and molested his Superman, then you'll understand how it feels, whatever. It's the same thing. The sagging is very minimal. I mean, the suit's very tight. You can see all the muscles really nicely. Pretty cool. And you come around here, and man, it was a really bad sagging armpit back in the day, and I think they tightened that up, and it was a vast improvement over the black version. And I was really close to getting that black version before they released this. And and I was like, whoa, that was a close one, because I love Blue Batman. He's just classic, and I just like the way it looks. I know it's not the most intimidating, but he's heroic. I just like that. This is the reason why I bought this thing. This head sculpt is amazing. It's freaking awesome. It's straight up Neil Adams. It's straight up from that run. Neil Adams, Denny O'Neil. The team that introduced Man-Bat, Ra's al Ghul, Talia al Ghul, and so many other cool elements to the Bat mythos. And it's a classic legendary run. Everyone needs to check it out if you're a Bat fan. And this is where this comes from. It also kind of resembles, the Norm Breyfogle era and Jim Apparel's artwork mainly. But I love this head sculpt. It's great. Okay, and here's the other head sculpt. So this one came with the original as well, with the black version. And they included that with this one as well, which I think is the right choice, because it has that Frank Miller look, that Dark Knight Returns kind of vibe. And so does the suit. When he first starts out, he comes back, he's wearing the blues, he's wearing the yellow symbol and everything. So it makes sense to me. It really has that look. And I think, in my opinion, like the shadow, like the stubble effect, is done pretty well on this one. I really like it. I like the transition, or the contrast between the eyes and the white and the blue. He looks even more demonic, in my opinion. Give me my tomato soup and wet naps. I need a sponge bath. Make sure you get everything. Alright, that's going to do it. This is the Modern Age Batman Premium Format by Sideshow Collectibles. A beastly, awesome, just a big hunk of justice. And this thing looks great, if you ask me. Both the versions actually look good. The black one looks good too. Pros and cons for either one of them, but I think they're virtually the same. It just depends on what style you're going for. The new one looks good too. I believe it's sculpted by the same fella. And I don't know, I've been sniffing markers and eating glue, so what do I know? But I believe that's the case. I think if you're, maybe let's give you a better idea on which one to pick. Alright, that's going to do it. Man, have a good 2018. Spend some time with your family. Spay and neuter your pets. And remember, Magneto was right.